Hey guys, this is Tauna, and today we're going to be talking about the top 10 Commander Precons as of Dragonstorm Edition. Now keep in mind these are Precons that are available. I want to make sure that they're up to date into cards that you're able to get. So I've excluded ones that are harder to find, but these are all going to be Precons that I would definitely suggest buying. They're all subjective, and it's my opinion, some are based more off of strength while others are based off of fun. Now generally all of them are going to be wanting a little bit of upgrading and stuff, some more so than others, but you can play most of them out of the box and it's going to be a great fun experience. Generally, most precons post 2022, in my opinion, are decently good though, and some are just going to need, as I said, like a little bit more upgrades than others. So getting into it, we've got the Family Matters Precon first up. So this one is going to make use of the Offspring mechanic to create a bunch of little 1/1 critters and then get value from strong enter the battlefield effects by essentially kind of cloning them using this. It's a very go wide deck that is relatively simple to play, and there's an insane amount of ways that you can upgrade it or make it stronger. If you want to go more into the enter the battlefield effects, that's a great way to go. If you want to make it into a special bird tribal deck or something like that, go that way. I don't care. Do whatever you like with it. I think the secondary commander is better before you start upgrading though, but both are really great. Having a look at a couple of cards from it, Zinnia is the main commander here, and they are going to have the option of giving all of your creature spells you cast Offspring to. Essentially, you can pay 2 extra generic mana when you cast a critter, and then you're going to create a 1/1 copy of it, which is great. And then they get stronger as well based off of the amount of creatures you have that base power 1. Another card you'll find in there is Agate Instigator, which is essentially like that impact tremors kind of effect. When a creature enters, deal damage to each opponent. However, you know, you can offspring this, you can offspring it here, and then you can offspring it again with Zinnia if you have him out too. And then boom, now you're going to be dealing a bunch of different damage. So that's like, plays into that enters the battlefield kind of effects there. Next up, we've got Mutant Menace. So this is based around the rad counter mechanic from Fallout, and a lot of +1/+1 synergy as well. You're going to mill all of your opponents and get value from that. There's a few different mill decks on this list. However, personally, this is the one that kind of hits the spot if you want to mill everyone. And I think most of them are kind of more focused on milling just yourself. So there's also going to be a bunch of different generic support for those counters and proliferating counters as well, buffing things up. And you can still, you know, just mill people out if that's the way you want to win too. One of the, the main face commander here is going to be the Wise Mothman, who has, when he enters or attacks, give each player a rad counter. Now, if you don't know what a rad counter is, it means at the beginning of the beginning of their upkeep, they're going to look at the top card of their library, put it into the graveyard, and then if it is a non-land, they're going to lose a life and then also lose a rad counter. So they also have buffing up your creatures based off the amount of cards that are milled that are non-lands too. So you're going to be able to buff up a whole bunch of creatures. It is more go wide with that. You have to put it on different creatures. So it's a +1 on different creatures, not like, multiple +1s on one critter. And then playing into like the proliferate / the rad counter stuff, you've also got the Vexing Radgull here, who has giving opponents rad counters whenever it deals combat damage to them, as well as that proliferation as well. If you are liking this content so far, make sure you guys subscribe, make sure you share the video around, all that kind of stuff. We've got a huge list here to go through though. We've got Quick Draw. So this is a spell slinger deck. You're going to be casting a lot of instants, a lot of sorceries. You're going to get benefits for your creatures for doing so. Very similar to the Jeskai deck that is coming out with Dragonstorm. I just think this one is better personally. It comes with a bunch of those Izzet spell slinger staples and a lot of ways to be able to cast multiple cards in a turn. And it can be upgraded to be insanely powerful. Your commander with this one is Stella Lee, and that's a huge part of the deck as to why it is so strong, because she is going to go infinite so easily. All you need is an instant or sorcery that's going to untap her, and boom, you can just keep repeatedly doing that and just untapping her forever and getting just a huge amount of cast triggers from it. Well, not cast triggers, copy and stuff triggers. We've also got like Propaganda in here too, which is a great way to be able to protect yourself, because you're a spell slinger deck. You're not going to have as many creatures out and stuff. So Propaganda allows it to basically discourage people from coming and attacking you. We've got the Devs at Bloom, and this is honestly my favorite precon of all time. And people really underestimate it. I just love it. It's so great. You're going to be playing a lot of lands. You're going to be sacrificing those lands, and then you're going to be creating some awesome plant people. Now, there's not a huge amount of sacrificing the lands within the precon. There is a little bit of it. It's more around discarding, but you can add in a huge amount of sacrificing. And there's just a bunch of different ways you can upgrade it to make it even stronger. There's a side theme as well of landfall, so just playing multiple different lands in a turn, and that works really well into you being able to play your lands from the graveyard or recur them from the graveyard too. Our face commander here is Yuma, Proud Protector. They have reducing their cost by 1 for each land in your graveyard. When you enter or attack, you're going to sacrifice a land, and if you do, draw a card. And then if a land is put into the graveyard from anywhere, so that means if you discard it, if you sacrifice it, if you self-mill it, boom, now you're going to be able to create a 4/2 green plant warrior creature token. And those add up very quickly. You've also got the Ancient Green Warden in here that lets you play your lands from the graveyard and also doubles all of those landfall triggers as well. That is like one of the amazing reprints from in this set. We've got Virtue and Valor. So this is an auras and cute crittersy deck. So you're going to be buffing up your creatures with a whole bunch of auras and playing like an enchantress kind of deck. It's very good for a new player. It's very simple, very straightforward, and you get some amazing little critters in it. So it's just so many different auras that have been released since the very start of the game that you can buff up your creatures in so many ways and upgrade it in so many ways as well. And there's just a lot of different staples within this actual deck that it's actually a really, really competitive deck. We've got Alavira the Wild Court as our kind of face commander here. When they enter or attack, you're going to create that virtuous roll onto another creature, which is just a token enchantment aura, essentially, which is great. And then that enchantment aura makes it so that creature gets +1/+1 for each other enchantment you control. That gets out of control so quickly. And then also on top of that, you're also going to have each time your enchanted creatures deal combat damage to a player, you're going to draw a card. Card draw in the command zone is amazing. One of the other like auras in there, you've got Songbird's Blessing, but there's so many different auras in here that are just really key. And just if you're building an aura deck, it's a great place to start. We've got the Peace Offering deck. Now, before I get into this one too much, this is not a deck I would suggest for newer players because it is a little bit more difficult because you do need to kind of politic. You need to understand who you want to give the card draw to, who you don't want to give it to, or making deals and negotiating, which is a bit harder for a newer player who doesn't completely understand, threat assessment or, other people's decks and stuff. And so it's a little bit more difficult to start. You could definitely play as a new player, but it's just a bit more difficult. Group Hug is essentially you're going to be helping everyone out a little bit, and then you helping them out helps you out as well. And that's how you kind of win the game. It's just kind of, helping them out and just slowly kind of building up and then just kind of stab them in the back for the win. You're going to give everyone nice stuff, mostly card draw within the precon, but there's some other stuff in there too. And there's a bunch of different cute critters that you're going to see in here. One of the the face commander here is Miss Bumbleflower, who has vigilance. And then whenever you cast a spell, you're going to give a target opponent a card draw, and then you get to put a +1 on a creature and give it flying. So you can see there, you're going to be group hugging, giving out cards, but then also growing up one of your creatures here. It's also then you're going to get to draw 2 cards if it's the second time you do that. So for the second spell you cast, you're going to get to draw 2 cards, and then you also give an opponent a card draw and put another +1 on something. It's also got a whole bunch of alternate win cons, not so many in the precon. I think there's like 2 or 3 in the precon, but you can easily add more in and make a really fun kind of alternate precon deck. And I love that, like alternate win con deck, and just, win the game in a bunch of variety of different ways. We've got the Eternal Might deck. This is a zombie tribal deck with a side theme of tokens and discarding and drawing. I love the face commander for this one, but secondary commander has gone on and become like one of the huge within CEDH at the moment. And there's a bunch of really nice stuff in here. There's a bunch of great staples for zombies, a really great land base that you can build it for, some insanely great reprints, and it's got, as I said, that kind of secondary potential commander there who's just so strong. Our primary commander here, though, is Temet, and he's the one that I love, and he's the one I built it around, who has whenever you attack, draw a card, discard, and whenever you draw a card, zombies you control get +1 each turn. So if you draw, 3 cards in a turn, boom, now all your zombies get +3/+3. It is actually bonkers. And then you've got Renewed Solidarity as one of the new cards within here, which just buffs up a creature type. You know, you're going to give them all +1/+0. And then if you create tokens for that creature type at the beginning of your end step, you get to create another token for each token you created. Yeah, it is really, really bonkers. We've got Hashaton, as I said, about the secondary commander here. This is the one that, you know, a lot of people have kind of taken and built up their own decks for, because he has, whenever you discard a creature card, you get to pay 3, 2, and a blue to create a tapped token copy of it. So people are cheating out huge things with this. It's really cool. We got the Jump Scare Precon. So this is a very interesting take on the face down creatures, and face down creatures aren't like a mechanic that people really love. Like I love it, but a lot of people are kind of, you know, a bit down on it. I think that this deck did it really well. So it's a mixture between landfall and these face down creatures. So you know, the whole point of it is you're manifesting dread, which I'll show you in a second, and then you have these face down creatures that you can attack with. So essentially what you're going to do is when you play a land and you've got your commander out, you're going to manifest dread, which means you're going to look at the top 2 cards of your library. You're going to be like, okay, I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to put it face down as a 2/2 creature, and the other one goes into the graveyard. So you can see there already, you've got some graveyard stuff you can do. Then you've got ways to be able to flip the creatures that you put down there, whether it's, you know, through Zamone's ability or other abilities that you could potentially do there. And AC was a reprint in here that's just absolutely bonkers in any landfall deck, and it's a great landfall deck. We got the Sultai Arisen one, a new one from Dragonstorm. I keep saying Dragonfall. Dragonstorm. It's a mill-based deck where you're going to be milling yourself with a side of reanimation, really, and cards leaving your graveyard. There's a lot of really nice milling cards in here. Your secondary thematic of like cards leaving your graveyard, as I said, creating some zombie tokens. I do think that Tevil is the better commander out of the box, but overall, you know, if you wanted to build the other guy, it's definitely there, and there's some insanely good reprints. The reprints within this deck were just absolutely bonkers when I saw them. Not even just in regards to the value of them, they're some very valuable ones, but even in regards to the strength of them. Like, what is it? Dorothy Voidwalker is reprinted in here. This is a really, really strong card. So, as I said about Tevil, I think that he's the better kind of commander. He has flying, and then whenever you attack, you're going to mill 3 cards. So you're going to take the top 3 cards of your library, chuck them into your graveyard. Then you can return a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's great. And then whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, you're going to get to create a black zombie druid token. And then one of the new cards in it that people are talking about so much is the Steward of the Harvest. So when this Steward of the Harvest comes in, you get to exile 3 target lands from your graveyard. Now that might seem dumb, but it's going to give all creatures you control all activated abilities of those lands. So, for example, a swamp, it has the activated ability of tap, add black. Now all your creatures will tap, add black. But there are so many ways that you can make this go really insane with absolutely bonkers like abilities on lands that are all activated. We've got the Mardu Surge one. Now, this one here is a personal one that I really, really love, and it definitely deserves a spot up here. I just think that it's amazing. I think it's amazingly built. I think that it does everything in a very interesting way. So it's an aggro token creation deck. You're going to be very much about combat. You want to attack, because when you attack, you're going to create tokens. And there's a side theme of like aristocrats here, like sacrificing your tokens. Your main commander here, Zergo, when your tokens leave the battlefield, he gets to do stuff. And that's a bunch of different things in here. It's also got and the reason that it's on here is because there is a bunch of really nice myriad stuff from the box, which is just very interesting, where when you attack with your creature, if you attack one player, for each other player, you're going to create a tapped and attacking token copy of it. And I just love Myriad as a mechanic overall. And I think it's a very interesting for this deck. There's also some really nice reprints in it as well. Zergo, as I said, is one of the commanders from it. There's 2 commanders within these ones. And he has Mobilize 1, which means when he attacks, he's going to create a tapped and attacking red warrior creature token. And then you sacrifice that at the beginning of your next end step. Now, that's important there because that is leaving the battlefield, which procs his next ability, which is, whenever creature tokens leave the battlefield, either you get to draw a card if you're during, combat and it's attacking, or you get to drain everyone for 1 life or deal 1 life to each person. It just adds up really quickly. And there's other stuff to kind of go alongside that damage, like within range and stuff too. All right, some honorable mentions here. First up is Theft. Theft is an amazing, amazing thing for newer players. Not new, like very, very new, but kind of like that step up. Because you're going to get to touch a lot of cards with it. You get to look at everyone's decks and get to play cards from everyone's decks, which means that your little deck that you've got, like, you know, whether it's your Precon, your Grand Larceny Precon or something, you're going to get to play other people's decks. And they will potentially have spent a lot more money on their deck than yours. So you get to play with their stronger cards and stuff. And just a way to be able to kind of experience more of the game as a newer player. And I think that's a great thing for newer players to just experience more cards, experience more commanders, and experience, you know, stealing people's cards. These ones here are all very, very expensive decks. Well, ranging in expensive. Some are very expensive. The Velociraptor was rather expensive, went down, and it's probably gone back up by now. The Warhammer ones are all rather expensive. The Lord of the Rings ones are getting up there too. They just got reprinted, but they're probably going to go back up too. There's some of these decks that are just rather expensive, but they are really great decks and worth picking up. All the Warhammer ones and Lord of the Rings ones I think are worth picking up. The only one that potentially is a little bit of a miss is the Lord of the Rings Elven Council one, but I think that all these are great decks. They're just kind of more expensive and harder to find. And then some other ones here, the great cards with reprints that are decent are worth picking up too, just because of, you know, the reprints are great, the new cards are great within them. My favorite ones though are the Miracle Worker one and these three here, Desert Bloom, Peace Offering, and Eternal Might. If you are interested in some other decks, some other, you know, Precon-ish kind of decks, these ones are ones that I make, and if you want to become a member, you can pick up those, and I'm going to list out all the cards for them and everything, take you through them, you through how they kind of play and stuff, and explain why I chose the cards for them. And some of them are a little bit more expensive than Precons, and some of them are cheaper than Precons. Definitely worth kind of looking into, and they're going to be 90% stronger than Precons most of the time. Now, if you guys have got this far, make sure you do subscribe, make sure you share the video around. Let me know what Precons you think should have been on the list, if there's any that you think I missed. I hope you guys had a great day, and goodbye.